Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Doggone Positive Way. I'm Maria Ryan, your certified dog trainer and your pet's advocate. We're catching up. I'm updating you. You see what's on the screen? This woman was arrested back in 2024 for animal cruelty, and we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to tie it into our balance training episode and what we're talking about, because it's not that it's the style or that it's balance training or anything like that, but I want people to know, what to look for when you're hiring a dog trainer and just things to keep in mind. So this woman, Nikki Camerlengo, was arrested in 2024, and there are these babies that were all there were injuries, but they resulted in the death of the dogs. And this is 7 dogs that we know of. There were other dogs much earlier on. This goes back to 2014. However, it wasn't really I think pursued. These pet parents were like, obviously freaking devastated. Can you imagine? You drop your dog off. This is a, supposed dog trainer, and the name of their business is Positively Paradise. And you're like, oh my God, that's so cute. And the website, I might have some shots of the website still in my archives and stuff, but I reported on this back in 2024. And it just blew my mind that it went back to 2014. And I think because of the way our laws are written here in Florida, and in most states, pets are chattel. They're considered chattel. So their value isn't like the value of a human being, where it's like you can have some kind of charge, whether it's like, say, battery or whatever it is, assault, whatever, murder, homicide, right? But dogs, unless they're purebred animal, and cats and horses also, then like, oh, they have value. Like this is property. Look around me, all these things, all the dog food. I know it's kind of trash back there. We have a huge supply for our hurricane season. um However, I digress. You know because of that, um that there isn't real, they're just considered property. And the laws were not, there weren't any laws in place, like animal cruelty laws, like Ron DeSantis has passed some great laws. We talked about them briefly: Dexter's Law, Troopers Law, and another animal cruelty law that, really is it. There's a database for shelters to access for people who have been arrested. So instead of it just being, I hope this needs to go like nationwide. Um, but at least if there's somebody there's a case on somebody, say in Miami, and they go to Tampa and they're all like, getting ready to, adopt another dog. We can look in that shelter, that organization can look and see in the database, no, we're not adopting to you. No way. You killed a dog or whatever. Like in Dexter's Law, Dexter was just adorable pity, and he adopted him, and this guy adopted him, and he killed him, just tragically the next day. But anyway, again, there were no laws going on, especially like in 2014. So I really, the fact that there are animal cruelty laws, and that DeSantis is building upon them and making them stronger, is just amazing. There is also one for people who sell dogs, like breeders, across the board. um, they kind of, I feel like some of them kind of enhance, like the lemon law, like you will be able to um you should get a full refund when your animal is sick, especially if you bought them from a pet store, which you really shouldn't, but I Know that people still do that. And some of those puppies are sick, and then you're left with a huge bill, and et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of enhances that. It also helps, it just helps protect the animals a little bit more. So we're making slow progress. Okay. 2026. Man, it's about time, right? Um, and I always hear um that song in my head. God, what's her name? It's about damn time. I love her. She's my favorite, but my mind is blank right now as far as that goes because I'm focused on this. Anyway, um, we have 7 dogs here who lost their lives. So, anyway, then I'm like, what's going on with this case? And I've looked up and I've looked up and over, the past couple years, and there's been nothing, 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 nothing. So I did a really deep dive and found this. Here we go. This article or this piece just came out in July, July 24th. So like what? Last week? Right? Yeah, last week. So tempers flare. This is the judge, and she's irritated. I watched the video. You can look up the video and stuff if you want. But basically, this woman, this judge is like, okay, I've given you 8 continuances. We're not doing this anymore. It is on both the prosecutor and the defense. They're both have asked for continuances, and when one asks for it, the other one's kind of like, yeah, that's fine. And it's like, it I don't know what their caseloads are. Honestly, they could be like just so very much slammed. But in the meantime, Nikki is out there. She's living, out there. I'm hoping that she is not training any dogs. She does not have access to any pets, including her own. Like, this is a person who should be in that database. And it would be amazing if that database was nationwide, like at least like in Georgia, like in the South, like like Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, that whole area would be great because Alabama, because a lot of people, that's like kind of like a little loop area where people move to from Florida or vice versa. So that would be something that is amazing. But now, what does the heck does this have to do? Oh, wait. I'll tell you exactly what it has to do with balance training in a second. But so the judge is like, I don't want any more continuances. I'm not going to ask you grant you any more continuances. And then one of the sides asked, we need a little bit more time. And the reasoning is they cannot they're having a hard time scheduling depositions and getting what is it, expert witnesses to hearings, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of like, I'll do it. Just let me I'll do it. I'm right here. That would be amazing. But I haven't pursued anything with it. My point is that I wonder if it's so difficult because there aren't enough professional dog trainers out there, and that could really speak to this. But I know at least and I know of a couple over here. Actually, I do know of one over here, Tony's dog trainer, who could speak to this. Like, and my colleagues on the in Tampa Bay, those are trainers that would be able to speak to something like this and have the behavior knowledge. Here's what I see is going to happen. They're going to get a trainer who maybe is a balance trainer. I'll be impressed if they find an actual positive reinforcement trainer that is evidence-based. Evidence-based. Why do I always say evidence-based? You're like, oh, Maria, stop saying evidence-based. Evidence-based because the name of this woman, this dog trainer's business was Positively Paradise. And it said on her website, I don't know. I'm going to see if I still have those screenshot grabs that she's no longer in business. It's permanently closed on Google, that type of thing. And I don't think you can access any of the pages once that happens. But I have allergies. They're back. They have not left. I need Claritin. But anyway, where is it? Yeah, it's Positively Paradise, and that was in Palm City, which is in South Florida. So, I mean, you guys have to see, like, when I see this, I'm like, oh, okay, are they really positive? And I've always been like this. I don't trust shit. Like, I don't care what the name of your business is, I'm going deep. Whether it's dog training or whatever, a doctor, I don't care. For me, for any of my friends, if they need help researching, but especially for our animals, because when it comes to the medical field, we're just trust, right? Boom, straight away. But and also we do that with these so-called professionals like dog trainers or dog daycare owners or um groomers, right? We trust everything. They're the ones who are doing this for a living. They must know what they are talking about. Now, I'm not like um I'm not saying that if you are a groomer or a daycare owner or, a dog trainer, that this is a blanket thing. It's not. But this is what I want to, really drive home to you, is that I want you guys to always look at marketing. And this is not a marketing course, but dog training and all this type of stuff kind of is, because we buy into those cute names. Positively Paradise. The name of my business is Doggone Positive Training. Okay. The Doggone Positive Way is the name of the show. So I'm always saying positive. Now, does that mean that, you know, I use all positive reinforcement? It might not. I'm just using a word. I'm just using positive reinforcement training. So the thing with balance training, if you remember the comment last week, is that that kind of training, positive reinforcement training, is great when they're puppies, but once they become adults, or more mature puppies, like even young puppies, I think, like a year old, um, they're like, no, we switch it up to, aversive training. So it's like, I don't know why. But anyway, let's talk about what I want you guys to look at. I'm going to keep their picture up here. And as far as the case is, there's no word, there's no date set, there's nothing set. I tried to get like court information, but it was kind of limited. And quite honestly, I didn't spend a hell of a lot of time looking into it. I'm really glad that this article came up, or this, video came up, because I've been thinking about it for a long time. And at least it's like, I didn't know, like, it was like she was arrested and then that was it. It was like, well, was she released? There was no follow-up, there was nothing, and I couldn't find anything out. And so it was like, what happened in these last 2 years recently with when the beagles got rescued from Ridgeland farms. A lot of them came here in South Florida to Big Dog Ranch, and there's a lot of politics in this stuff, and you don't think about it, but when you start like pulling back the layers, you realize there's a lot of money and a lot of politics. Whether doesn't matter if they're a rescue, like a big rescue, like Big Dog Ranch, or maybe it's an ASPCA or what have you. There's money that is there that is being raised to help fund, you know, them saving dogs. So politically, it's you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that If you have these connections and a way to reach out to your governor and your lawmakers, I think that everybody should. And if you have a large shelter there or a rescue group like Big Dog Ranch, I mean, what a great opportunity for them to connect with the lawmakers and the governor so that we can get these laws passed. So the law that was passed most recently was about breeders and what they need to do as far as there needs to be more transparency. And then of course there was Dexter's law and Trooper's law. um, Trooper's law was about the dog who was tied up on I-75 in the middle of a storm. And he was found by a trooper. Thus the name Trooper. But it was flooding. It was a really bad storm, and this guy was like, "Well, I'm just going to leave you here." I mean, for crying out loud, drop him off at the shelter, please. Just what are you doing, right? So Trooper's law happened, and then Dexter's. So we need the legislation. We need to change the value of a dog. Now, even though they're still considered property, I think we went over a little bit in the last episode or the one before about Pennsylvania saying, yeah, they're still property, but they are different. They have value. They have more value than, a financial thing. And, if a dog's not a purebred, you're screwed, right? So my dog, Rufus, who was stolen, I was negotiating. And then when things were to get him back from the person who stole him, I mean, it's so ridiculous that I had to do this, but I had to. I had to prove my case, which is so just a pain in the ass when you're like, I didn't do anything wrong. I am working so hard and spending so much money trying to get my dog back, but I digress. So anyway, Rufus was Jack Russell, and it's like, so he was worth some more money than if I would have, just adopted, like, say, when we got Tony from, from rescue, or if I would have gotten him from a shelter. Mixed breeds are just, they don't hold the same value. Okay. So I was getting ready to pursue felony charges of theft. And then I wound up getting him back. There was a settlement. The settlement was, um, you just give me my dog back. We'll give him back if you don't like do any other stuff, like pursue anything as far as charges and etc. So, and of course I agreed because I wanted Bruce's back. That's on that person. That's their karma. Whatever happens with them. I don't know. But unless you have a purebred dog, you had a hell of a time. So Pennsylvania, they're changing the laws. We need laws for we need regulations like more than a license for to do business in your neighborhood. We need regulations for dog trainers and groomers and doggy daycares. This past year, I believe at the beginning of this year, there was another death, or not another, but yes, another, a death at a dog daycare in South Florida, and it's like, this doesn't just happen in Florida, it's everywhere. Um, and it's, people are killing dogs because they're pissed off and they take it out on the animal. And, this is going to be graphic. They use choke chains or pinch collars, and they are what we call hanging the dog, So you have the leash on them and you're holding them up off the ground. I didn't do that. But dog trainers have done that. I know, I've heard stories and I believe them about some dog trainers who were doing this, Schutzhund dog training. And Schutzhund is a dog sport. It's a German dog sport. And they don't do what I'm about to tell you was done with this one dog. Was the dog was, up on, like, say, like a grooming table or whatever, and on, hooked up, and for whatever kind of, I don't know what was happening, but the dog was pushed off by this supposed trainer, and he was hanging. It's like, what is going on? These are animals. There are companion animals. We live with these dogs, and the people who are dropping them off at these training facilities for with people who shouldn't be anywhere near animals. Um, it's like um, they don't know what to look for. So, what you need to look for is, are these animals, are these animals, are these trainers certified in anything? Who issued the certification? Because there are plenty of businesses out there where you can take some test, or you don't even have to take a test. And they're like, here, pay this money, and here's your certificate. Maybe you read some article, or maybe you did take a test with them, and it's like, what are the parameters? Who is setting the criteria for, and the curriculum for these so-called certifications, right? So who issued it? Is it based on current evidence-based science and behavioral science and studies? Okay. um, is there an exam, right? Is there a freaking exam? uh do you require continuing education? Because I do continuing education all the time, all the time. It's like, it's important, because I think our foundation is pretty solid, for the evidence-based training, where I'm using clicker training, I'm using classical, I'm using all the sciences. But what are we finding out more about the dog's brain? I'm going to focus on dogs and their behavior. There are amazing studies, MRI studies with dogs, and seeing the reaction of happiness or fear or whatever when they see their human. And just how super intelligent these dogs are. You think the dogs on or a Disney movie, or in a Disney movie, or in some commercial, or like, I don't know, I'm going to age myself here, but Frasier, Eddie, the Jack Russell. Okay, I took a picture with him, and he's dog aggressive, and he was in the shelter, and the trainer got him and was like, boom, this dog, I'm going to train this dog, is perfect for training, for this TV show, or for this movie, or whatever, or this commercial. And it's like, but that trainer trained with evidence-based training and clicker training, and the dogs are not being punished or on a shock collar on television, or in movies, or whatever, and there's plenty of aversive training out there. I found this guy, this is when I first started messing around with trying to develop this podcast, and was doing some kind of reaction video. I think I might have taken them down, honestly, but it's like, I'm so triggered when somebody is training aversively, and it's like, it's their last chance. This dog was going to be euthanized, and it's the dog's last chance, and we had to bring it to this trainer. And it's like, dude, I've had those last chance dogs come across my facility, my everything for training. I had people like, we tried the shock collar. We tried, which I hated so much, because it's just like, oh my God, you've done so much damage, because every time your dog growled at somebody, or a dog, or whatever, or your husband, when they came to sit with you, or, on the couch, or was climbing into bed with you, your dog bit them, and it's like, and you shock them because you listened to this person. And it's like, you turn it into a bigger problem with punishment. Okay. Now, last time I said, and I've said this to people, that punishment can work, and sometimes it works. And your timing has to be freaking perfect. Okay. Perfect timing. If you screw up your timing, you are punishing the wrong thing. Okay. So you don't want to do that. But sorry, I've just got into a whole training punishment thing, but I'm trying to help you guys see the differences. Um, do I want my dog to be corrected with an aversive tool? when they growl at another dog on the walk that I take with them in the evenings, no, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because they see that person or they see that other dog and you hurt them, right? You don't realize what you're doing. Honestly, a lot of people just don't. They just listen to these other trainers, and that's fine. And these people, but it's like you're creating just negativity, like, when you get a shot at the doctor when you're a kid, they don't do this anymore. I highly doubt it. But when I was little, you get a lollipop. And would have been better if you got the lollipop while they were giving you the shot. Okay. And then, but my point is that, they didn't like smack us and then give us a shot, or give us a shot and smack us and be like, get out of here. It was like, you got your shot and you got a lollipop, and that was cool, and you liked the lollipop, and it was great, and it made things a little bit better, even if the lollipop sucked ass. Okay, it was still like, we're trying, right? So but it's sorry, it's so crazy. So when and I think it's almost a normal kind of thing, because we are primates, at the end of the day. And we like to touch things and push things and yell and punish and all that kind of stuff. But I've seen people, on some of these dog training shows that maybe they're on television, and the trainers, using a lot of aversive treatment, and you see the owner watching and they're horrified, but they're like, oh my God, maybe my dog will stop this behavior. But the problem with that is that you have to, just be able to have the owner, the pet parent, duplicate that punishment. Sometimes it's really hard. I can't get some people to use a clicker. I'm like, okay, can you say the word yes at least? Let's try that. And but because timing is everything, because you want to make sure you're reinforcing the correct behavior, or if you're using punishment, punishing the correct behavior that you want to punish, right? Okay. So so you don't hire somebody like this woman who um killed these dogs, is accused of killing these animals. She's been arrested, but she's not, hasn't been a case, so uh a hearing or anything, so she is innocent until proven guilty. And I hate that, but I have to say that because we live in America and that's our constitution, and um there are a handful of people that get arrested and charged with things that they weren't even there. So, you got to do that. But anyway, so you need to do your homework when you are hiring somebody. If you want to hire a balance trainer, say, find out what their methods are. Like, how far do they go with their punishment? So, what's their ceiling? Some people just start straight up shock collars, and it's just like, what? And I swear I'm not making this shit up, okay? I didn't make this training up either. By the way, the things that I say, listen, you need to do it like this because it's better, it's easier on the dog. This science is there. I didn't make this up. Because like I just didn't make these methodologies up. And yes, other people have, you know, studied. There are studies out there. There's most recently, I think the end of last year, the beginning of this year, there was a study about a shock collars. It didn't need to be done because we already have the information. So that was kind of controversial, but whatever. I couldn't find it. I have to look for it on my Facebook page, but just make sure that when you're hiring somebody to train your dog, one, don't do board and trains. Don't do it unless that trainer is really a an evidence-based dog trainer, okay? And that you can verify their credentials. Do they have credentials? If they don't have credentials, okay. What else can you do? I would definitely, and even if they do, reach out to other clients. Like, do they have referrals? I want to know. I want to talk to the other clients. So, be careful and know that just because you're paying for dog training, somebody else is doing it and somebody else is bonding with your dog first. Okay. So even when we work together, even when people work directly with trainers one on one, um, the trainer's doing all the work and they're not having the owners do it, or maybe they're having them do it maybe like once, or they're just telling them this is what you have to do, and then they leave and they don't come back the next week. It's like I said before, your dogs are going to listen to dog trainers, even whatever so-called dog trainers, um because we carry ourselves in a different way and we are more confident with your pet, and your pet doesn't know us either, especially in the beginning and throughout. We only spend like an hour with you and your dog. So you have to realize that also. I want you, and I will of course show you what to do. But who cares? I don't live with you. Your dog needs to listen to you at the end of the freaking day. So, one thing that I did like about what we did at the first place I learned how to train dogs was, there was, we had it set up as like doggy daycare, so you could drop your dog off with us, and we would train your dog, and then when you came to pick up, we would spend some time with you and show you, how to correct a dog. It was all correction. What to do with this problem, that problem, et cetera, et cetera. So there was that really, after 8 hours or 6 hours, whatever, we're working with your dog, and we're telling you, the pet parent, this is what we did, this is what we noticed, this is how you duplicate it. Watch them do it, and they're on their way, right? So that's, to me, is a good, um that's a good training program, because you have that close, immediate, pretty immediate interaction with the pet parent. Because again, who cares if they listen to the dog trainer? They need to listen to you guys. They're your dogs. We don't live with you. Okay. So now, with these certifications, some of the organizations that are out there are using aversive training. So you need to look at that. I want you guys to look at places that are not just where you pay a membership and you get your certification that way, you know, and that they're using evidence-based training. You want an organization like, say, for example, Good Pup. What a great organization that is, offering certifications and testing for people. First of all, it's free, which is great, because to me, that shows their level of dedication to getting this information out. They're like, hey, you want to be a dog trainer, or you already a dog trainer, or you want to add more certifications to your already, whatever, however many certifications you have, you can do it. Here's the coursework. You have to pass this, this, and this, and then you take an exam at the end, and you get certified. And you can be on our site with with Rover for dog training. Amazing. I mean, really amazing. So, and what you look for is, are they teaching learning theory? Learning theory, the ABCs, the antecedent, what happens before your dog jumps on you. The behavior is the jumping. And the consequence is, what do you do? Okay. That's a whole show right there. And maybe one day we'll do that, just with that, because that is a problem that a lot of people have. So verify your potential new dog trainer that you're going to hire. Verify their credentials, and look beyond those certifications, look beyond their name of their business and stuff. A credential alone isn't going to tell you whether their trainer relies on positive reinforcement, evidence-based training, or punishment, or a combination. Now, before you leave your dog anywhere, whether it's a daycare or training facility or whatever, groomer, you need to do a tour. You need to see the facility. Too many owners are too trusting, and we drop off our dogs and we leave. Now, I had people come to my daycare just walking in. Like, I don't care if you, I have nothing to hide. So you can walk in anytime to tour my facility. The dogs are going to bark at you, and you might be a little scared and think, whoa, holy crap. You may not, do that. You may not like that. You may not want to bring your dog to me. But my place is clean. The dogs are happy. They're separated accordingly. And, you know, also, are there cameras? Like, I would want a camera where the dog sleeps. I would want a camera in the hallways where they're bringing your dog, say, from their kennel, or their, hopefully they have more like a real life room for them if they're, old enough to be able to handle that, like couch and stuff, real comfortable area. But I want it in the hallways because I want to see what's happening when they take the dog out of their kennel and go to, say, they're going outside or into a training room or the daycare room or whatever. I want to see everything. What equipment are they using? And that's a really legitimate question, because it's like, what do you consider, like, do you use choke chains or pinch collars or anything like that? And they might be like, hell no, 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 we don't even, I didn't allow it in my facility, and actually I didn't allow it in my classes. I got people off of them lickety split, and we'll talk about the gentle leader, but probably not today because this is going on for a really long time, a lot longer than what I anticipated. But this stuff's important. And what does it have to do with balance trainers? um I'm not saying by any means that balance trainers are, or aversive trainers or whatever. I'm not coming after those people. I'm just saying there are better ways, there are evidence-based ways that you don't have to use punishment on that level. Like, punishment can look like a choke chain correction, or like throwing a penny can, to scare your dog for whatever, going on the counter or whatever. Or it can look like ignoring your dog when they jump on you and turning your body. Or it could look like, if you want to be a little bit more, like, say that doesn't work with your dog right away. It works, but say it doesn't. You can body block them and use your body and take up their space. And maybe people are like, oh my God, that's like, but I'd rather walk into a dog. No knees, no stepping on toes. Okay. Literally, you're walking into the dog, or in my case, rolling towards them, right? I want to take up their space. Okay. And that's what, if you want to say, an alpha dog does. They have priority access. That's they know, they sleep where they want to sleep. Okay. They eat when they want to eat. It's not up to the other dogs in the pack. It's up to that dog, that lead dog, that dog that's just kind of like, hey, yeah, this is mine. But that's a form of punishment. Walking into your dog or towards your dog and taking up their space is a form of punishment. But I'd rather do that than use a shock collar or yell at them, right? Because it just, first of all, it takes so much energy out of us as human beings. Um, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. And it's not teaching the dog anything. I talked about learning behavior a little bit and the ABCs. It's like, um, our animals are capable of learning what we want, what our expectation is. Set your expectation to be reasonable, please. A lot of people don't, but yeah, so I want you to start thinking about that, thinking about, if you're going to hire somebody to do training with your dog or board and train. I don't want your dogs to wind up like these babies did. These 7 dogs are no longer with us. It is incredibly important for you to do your homework and not be fooled by marketing, not be fooled by just the word positive or whatever. Like, don't be fooled by that shit, okay? Let's be smarter. Let's do a lot of critical thinking, just sitting down and thinking of the whole picture, asking a lot of questions, and they should be happy to answer your questions and be happy that you're like really want to protect your dog and you really want to bond with your dog. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, you guys. And I can't wait to see you again next week. And I love you guys. And be good to your puppies. And you hear Tony Newful complaining in the background, like, oh my God, she tortures me every day. Of course we don't. He just wants to get the hell out. And I'm ignoring him. So that's kind of punishment. Anyway, have a great day. I love you guys. Stuff a Kong for your dog. And, just have a doggone positive week, and I will see you next time.